Okay, great. Again, welcome everyone to FISPA's Lunch and Learn. It is September 18th. I am Donna Qualls, Executive Director of FISPA. Want to give you guys a brief introduction of FISPA as well as our guest speaker today, and then we will get started with our conversation. FISPA, Fiber Internet Service Providers of America, represents a vibrant community of internet service providers dedicated to advancing the industry. We provide a supportive and inclusion environment for collaboration where open communication and creativity are the heart of everything we do. Our diverse membership network consists of service providers and vendor solutions that offer real, practical, and strategic insights. Together, we build, grow, and enhance fiber and technology networks, ensuring our customers stay connected to what truly matters. If you're not already a member but want to be a part of this dynamic community, please reply to the thank you email you will receive post-webinar, and I'm happy to provide you with additional information about our membership. Today, I'd like to warmly welcome all FISPA members and any guests that we have to our FISPA Lunch and Learn. Today's topic is Beyond Traditional Networking, Embracing Open and Disaggregated Networking for Greater Flexibility and Efficiency. E.C.I. Networks is a valued FISPA vendor member, and without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker today, Fuad Mazar, a networking specialist with E.C.I. Networks. With nearly 25 years of engineering experience, an expert in open networking, network monitoring, and testing, Fuad drives the company's technological innovations and product development. He has played a pivotal role in the success of our network visibility solutions and adaptation of open networking, including Sonic 24/7 support services. Fuad's extensive experience ensures E.C.I. Networks delivers cutting-edge networking solutions and maintaining a competitive edge in the industry. So without further ado, Fuad, I'm going to turn the stage over to you, and I will be in the background to support as needed.
Much, Donna. Greatly appreciate your introduction. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. As Donna mentioned, my name is Fuad Mazhar, and I'm a networking solution specialist focused on open networking as well as visibility solutions. So the title of today's network is Empowering Open Networking Adoption. Not only open networking, but the networking adoption. And on our agenda today is the introduction of our company. So I'll go through the company overview, E.C.I. Networks, and then we're going to jump into open networking, what it means, a quick overview, the use cases and the adoption and risks, and what's the benefits of open networking. And on the right-hand side, as you can see on the screen, I don't know if you see it or not, I think it says a concept, and the sales word is KISS versus kill. And KISS is basically keep it short and simple versus kill, keep it long and lengthy. And as network managers, and myself working as a network manager for a long time, and also a network engineer for support for different manufacturers, we like to keep it simple. And when you keep it simple, it's easy to monitor, easy to manage, easy to troubleshoot. Having said that, we can start with a quick introduction of E.C.I. Networks, where we are headquartered in Montreal. We started our journey actually in 2012, and Montreal was the city where we started our company. But over the last 12 years, we evolved and we expanded and we grew. We have offices in Toronto, in the US, of course, in Brazil and Mexico, so for Latin America. We do have a distribution center in Hong Kong where we do some assembly and manufacture other than the manufacturing here in Montreal, as well as a large warehouse here in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. We consider ourselves as a solution integrator, and we have a mission statement for that. We are really focused on open networking and open networking adoption and deployment. So we help customers selecting the right hardware, the right solution, but really focus on open networking, and there are advantages to that. And we're focused on tomorrow's data center to support wired as well as wireless networks, working with lots of service providers and large enterprises. We have a worldwide presence, as I mentioned, but not only on the customer base, but also on the distribution and in the resellers. Our ecosystem includes lots of partners, resellers, development partner, technology partners, and sales partners as well. Now, a quick company overview. As we started in 2012, we really started in the connectivity solution. So if you look at on the left-hand side, as a solution integrator, we started manufacturing some connectivity solutions, meaning optics. So in other words, transceivers. At that time, starting from 1 gig, and then we moved to 10 gig, 25 gig, 40 gig, and 100 gig type of optics. Whether it's a short reach, long reach, extended reach, or very extended reach, we carry all of them. Not only that, but our partnership with major manufacturers in the switch and router type of industry allow us to be fully compliant and compatible with any type of hardware that customers or may have, whether it's service provider customers or enterprise, small, medium, and large. We code our transceiver in such a way that it does not generate any errors when connected to switches and or routers or any other type of device. And from there, we move to cables and accessories. So when we manufacture our own cables, we terminate the cables with different type of termination, SC, LC, MTP, MPO, and we carry a large selection of cables available in our warehouses. Also, we moved from there into TAPs, and TAPs is test access points. And it's very important and very needed when it comes to monitoring solutions, which I'm going to be covering later on during my presentation. Also, we manufacture muxes. So muxes in terms of wavelengths. So we can do multiple wavelengths, colors on the fiber side using different light frequencies. In 2015, we moved further. So as the company developed and we had better reach, we started reselling some hardware and reselling some software. But again, the focus was really on open hardware and open software. So when we started our partnership with EdgeCore, Lanner, Eufy Space, Mikas, and we didn't stop there. We actually were still working with some other manufacturer when it comes to open hardware, and also looked at open software. So the open hardware requires open software to be loaded on top of that. And we looked at Arcus, IP Infusion. We have also Sonic, and we're going to cover that throughout the presentation, as well as professional services. So now when we buy an open hardware and you buy an open software, maybe from somebody else, you need someone to integrate the solution. And we are able to provide those type of professional services and the support for that type of solution. We help our partners and customers in our labs to test, validate every solution that we design and architect prior to deployment. But in 2017 and 2023, we didn't stop there. We moved into developing our own application that runs on top of the open hardware using also the open software. So we started our engineering and support services using Sonic, Dent, OOPT, or Nephew, and we developed a solution called the packet broker. And in this case, because we're using open networking, it is called the disaggregated packet broker, as well as a monitoring solution that monitors latency and jitter on large networks using a special protocol called TWAM, or two-way active monitoring protocol. And we call this application E.C.I view. So we have a large selection of product. We do professional services and we do support. And we have a very good track record with our customer base, partners, and distributors. Now, if I may change this. So I mentioned maybe the word open networking maybe 10 or 15 times already in the first two slides. But what is open networking? In case some of you folks don't know or didn't hear the term before, we're going to cover it now. In case you did in the past, I'm going to give you a quick overview of what is open networking. And to be able to do so, I would like maybe to take you back in time and talk about the servers, the compute side, not the networking side. A server versus a switch. A server basically contain a memory, a CPU, the hard drive and the network card, and also it runs applications. Actually, the switch is not that far off from that type of setup. A switch also has a CPU, has a memory, has flash memory to save the config files, to save the firmware, and it has lots of input-output ports. Not only one NIC card or two, but it may have 16, 32, or 48 ports at different speeds. So it's not that different. But if you folks remember in the old days, we used to have a server, let's say from IBM, and only the operating system from IBM that runs on top of that. A server from Sun Systems, and only the operating system for Sun Systems that runs on top of that. The same with HP, the same with Dell. But about 20 years ago, if not more, x86 servers showed up. And now you can load any software on that common platform or open platform, which is a server. You can buy a server from Dell, from HP, from IBM, and load the same Windows software on any of those. You can mix and match. Today you buy IBM, tomorrow you can buy Dell or HP, and you run the same application that runs on different manufacturers. But we haven't done that on the networking side. Actually, it started happening in 2013. Now the switch hardware became open. And if you look at the picture on the top right, you see this is the hardware, the switches that we're all of us are familiar with. And in this case, because it's open, we call it bare metal hardware. And there is a BIOS that runs on top of that. And it's an open BIOS, and it's called Open Networking Installed Environment, ONI. And ONI, a very well-known word in the open networking industry. And as long as you have an ONI BIOS, you can run different types of software or firmware on top of that switch. And you can change the personality of the switch by means of the switch could become a packet broker, could become a firewall, could become a load balancer, could become a VPN concentrator, depending on the software that runs on top of that switch. And that was kind of utopia for a network manager. Now you can have, logistically speaking, buy the same switch and use it as a layer 2 switch or a layer 2, layer 3, layer 4 type of services switch, top of rack or a core switch, a wiring closet switch. But you can also use the same hardware as a VPN concentrator or a firewall with 48 ports, 1 gig, 10 gig, 25 gig. And this is the value of opening the hardware and running multiple different type of software on that hardware that fits with the need of any customer out there. And I'm going to talk about the advantage going that route versus actually focused on proprietary hardware with proprietary software and paying big money for that. So first, we decouple the hardware from the software. So this is what we call disaggregation, the decoupling of the bare metal from the software layer. And then in the hardware, as I mentioned, you can use Windows or virtualization or Linux or any operating system that runs on any hardware from either IBM or HP or Dell or any other server manufacturer. The same happened now with the switches. You can have the same firmware running on an open networking switch from EdgeCore, from UFI-Space, from Micas, from Quanta. It doesn't matter. The hardware becomes a commodity, which lowered the price of the hardware, which is an important key factor in reducing the CapEx and the OpEx of your networking budget in general. So now the bare metal hardware and the software that runs on top of that are based on open standards. So the network operating system, the software-defined network, virtualization, and cloud orchestration are all standard type of protocols and features that are available from a wide variety of companies that are developing for the open networking solutions today. Also, a very important feature is that the ONI allows those different type of software to run on the hardware and the vendor lock-in. So you're not necessarily going after specific hardware because you're locked in one vendor. So the benefits, as I mentioned, no vendor lock-in, very flexible type of solution. You buy a switch today that's a 10 gig, later on and run specific software on it, let's say layer 2, layer 3, layer 4 services as a core switch, but tomorrow you can use it as a packet broker. You can use it as a VPN concentrator. You're going to have to decommission it completely and buy a new one. And then you can migrate. And when you migrate from a 10 gig to a 25 gig switch, you still use the same software on those switches. If you need a wiring closet switch, a 1 gig with PoE support, so the same software, that the same open networking software will run on top of that switch. So you have a solution from end to end, and you can grow your solution in increments. You pay as you grow. You don't have to buy a chassis with 8 or 12 slots today, and you're limited to those 12 slots, and you pay for the metal chassis itself, and then the multiple fan trays that are in the chassis, the multiple fabric modules that are in the chassis. All that is gone with a fixed configuration, 1U type of configuration or 2U maximum, and you can grow your network from 10 gig all the way to 400 gig today. So we have switches, open networking switches that have 64 ports of 400 gig each using standard protocols. And you buy those type of switches off the shelf. There is no delay in delivery because you can select from multiple vendors the same type of open networking switch, and your open networking software will run on any of them. This way, you reduce the CapEx and the OpEx, which is key for companies that they want to grow your network. You don't want to have to pay a lot for that, and you can protect your investment by reusing the switches in a different fashion. Actually, this is not only a customer type of story, but Gartner, being the main recommending and testing partner, the Gartner Group, benchmarking, they've seen a growing 30% year after year into the white box type of solutions. So any customer today that looking for upgrading his network is looking for a bare metal switch, or as we call it, a white switch. But here at E.C.I Network, we call it bright switch. Why? Because we add support to the white switch and we call it a bright switch. We don't leave you hanging when you purchase from us. We provide full support, layer 1, layer 2, and layer 3 support. And now Gartner are looking at Sonic. And I'm going to stop a minute here on Sonic. Sonic means software of open networking in the cloud. This firmware, a networking firmware, was developed by Microsoft. Why? Because they use it in their Azure cloud offering. They have been deploying lots of switches everywhere around the world using this firmware. And I'm going to cover it a little bit in more details on a following slide. So these are the benefits of going open networking. You're not tied to any specific manufacturer. You're not tied to any limitation on the software, and you're not tied to delivery delays, but you can actually have a very flexible solution and you reduce your budget. Example of that, our main partner is EdgeCore, which is a big manufacturer of open networking bare metal switches. The models that are mentioning it, I don't expect you to remember the models, but we start from a layer 2 switch, 1 gig, all the way to layer 2, layer 3, layer 4, with full feature set, like VXLAN, like BGP, VPN, like OSPF. So it's all in there. So an SRv6, it's all in there, like any Cisco, like any Juniper, like any HP, like any Arista. So, and it's also reducing the price. It's using your budget by at least 40 to 50% when it comes to a regular switch. And if you're looking at NPB or network packet broker, you're looking up to 66% savings when you design your visibility and monitoring solutions. Now, also, as we've seen, like the adoption has been very well in the last few years, and the expectation is even to grow more. Some of the big companies now, or especially service providers, are adopting the concept of open networking. And an example in this slide, even though it's a busy slide, AT&T, Verizon, Microsoft, TELUS, Bell, large enterprises such as eBay, Target, Walmart, the hyperscalers, Google, Yahoo, LinkedIn, Facebook, Alibaba. They don't buy hardware from a specific manufacturer. They buy the open hardware, and they buy the open software, or they develop it themselves. And I want to stop at Microsoft here. Microsoft, they have a very big or a very large network when it comes to Azure. which is their cloud offering, they installed about 45,000 switches worldwide. They didn't want to be slaves to any other manufacturer. They wanted to have control of their own destiny. If there is a bug, they want to solve it themselves, not to wait for somebody else to solve it for them. If there is a new feature, they want to be able to develop it quickly themselves, not to wait for somebody else for months to develop it for them. So being Microsoft and always focused on the compute type of solutions in servers, applications, this time they end up developing a TCP/IP stack. They developed a firmware for switches that runs on open networking switches. And this is SONiC, software of open networking in the cloud. And as they design it and develop it, they put lots of automation in it because they cannot install up to maybe more than 45,000 switches one at a time and configure it one at a time. They needed automation. They needed monitoring, full visibility, manageability, and full feature set, a very rich feature set to be able to offer their cloud offering today and be as successful as they are today. Not only they developed SONiC, but they also made it open source. So anybody can download it. If you buy the open networking hardware, you download SONiC for free. So now you reduce the price of the hardware because you're buying it as a from off the shelf. It's immersion silicon, and also you have the software for free. And this changed the market completely. And that's what facilitates the adoption of the concept of open networking today. I'm not going to go through all the examples. Probably we can choose and select some of them, but actually it's the same story everywhere. People wanted to save some money on the networking, have lots of flexibility, lots of automation, and being able to deliver solutions quickly, no delays in delivering the hardware and the software, no delays in fixing bugs and adding features. So the question was, open networking is covered is the disaggregation of the software from the hardware, making the hardware open and loading any open software that works on the BIOS, just like the servers today. But where do you deploy it? Is it only restricted for a core switch in a data center, or a top of rack switch, or a wiring closet switch, or a branch switch? Actually, it can be deployed anywhere around the network, because the software, the open networking software, can accommodate any type of functionality depending on the hardware that's running on top of it. So if you have an open networking hardware that's supporting power over Ethernet, for example, SONiC will work on top of that. Open networking software will work on top of that. You can also deploy it as an access layer switch, a top of rack switch. When we talk about a large data center, it could be in a leaf and spine type of design, running VXLAN, running eBGP. So it's all available today in a spine and leaf design. So there is no limit in deploying this type of solution. And when we talk about telecom, when we talk about service providers as a cell site router in their data centers at the edge of the network, that's all available today. So the spectrum is really wide and the deployment is very easy, lots of automation, especially when you talk about APIs. SONiC comes with APIs, a RESTful API, and if you have an Ansible type of solution, API and automation will be very easy. So the white box strategy is you have to be able to adopt a new solution such as open networking and come out of the locked vendor environment. It has to be tested. And this is what we do also at E.C.I. We test the solution for our customer and we work with them hand in hand. But as a disaggregated solution, you can use it as a visibility layer. You can use the open networking solution as a start into the management network. Every production network today has a management network, a management VLAN, and the management VLAN connects to the Ethernet ports of every switch out there, every server out there, to be able to manage those components. If there is a problem on the network, you can still reach those type of devices. And you can start in a spine and leaf type of design for a management network, or a leaf and spine type of design for actual switch used in production. It could be used in a DCI, which stands for Data Center Interconnect, using 100 gigs or 400 gigs type of speeds with ZR and ZR+. Open as a network packet transporter or packet broker for monitoring solution. Multi-edge computing, MEC solution from Lanner that I mentioned earlier. It's also open networking. For a last mile with ONT and OLTs as a cell-side gate router. Any network expansion and network refresh. Today, Gartner recommends any network manager today is looking at upgrading his network or refreshing his network. Absolutely is a must to look at open networking solutions, white switches, bare metal switches, and open networking software. E.C.I network, when we started in 2015 and 2017, looking at open networking, we had to have a value proposition. So today, we help our customers in selecting the right hardware, selecting the right software for their solution, for their need. But not only that, we help also source this hardware and the software. We build it for them. We have our lab, we work on POCs, we bring the hardware, we load the software, we configure it to their expectation, to their need, we test it inside out. We sign off on it. We stage it, we prepare it, and we work with the customer to deploy it. So this is our value proposition, but we don't stop there. We also do the support. We provide, with every sale that we do, we provide 3 years of full support on the hardware as well as the software. So we become a one-stop shop when it comes to open networking. And it's important to mention that OCP, or the Open Concept Platform, we are one of the first Canadian members to be a member of this community. Excuse me. So this is what we call the open and disaggregated networking solutions. We helped our customer from the day one and make sure that all the features that they're looking for is available. The hardware configuration that they're looking for, whether it's a 32 ports or 48 ports or 64 ports or more, available. The speeds of the ports is available. The hardware is fully compliant with full redundancy for any data center, whether it's AC, power supplies, or DC, standard or reversed airflow. Everything is designed as a data center compliant. Not sure if there are any questions, but I'm going to look at the questions later on. Now, we've seen the open networking. Now we understand that we separated the hardware from the software. So that's the disaggregation or the decoupling. We know the advantage and the benefits of that. So basically, the reducing the OPEX and the CAPEX, no vendor locking, flexibility in choosing the hardware, no delays in delivery because we have so many different manufacturers. The software features that really need, like you need to, so you narrow down the solution. You don't have to pay for extra features on the software that you don't use. But on top of that, it's very easy to deploy. It's a very basic layer 2 or layer 3 switch. And Sonic, the Microsoft solution being a container-based firmware, now allows the customer to develop their own applications, customers and partners. So you can develop an application as a container on top of Sonic. So now the switch is not only forwarding data back and forth between the ports, but it can run an application on top of that. So you can have, other than being a switch, could be a firewall or a packet broker or a VPN concentrator running as a container. And this was like something that any network manager was looking for, because you can run BGP as a container. And if there is a BGP problem, you just reboot that BGP or you patch that BGP container and without affecting the flow of data throughout the switch. The backplane is still up and running. And that was something that we're looking for the longest time, not to affect the production networks, the traffic on the production network, when we want to apply a patch or fix a bug in the switch or in the router. And this is happening with Sonic today. Some of the use cases, and I'm not going to make it long. So we said we're going to keep it simple and short. It's one of our customers has the 5G monitoring infrastructure. They had the traditional NetScout vendor for monitoring, for network packet broker, and it was an expensive solution. It's a proprietary hardware, proprietary software from NetScout, proprietary taps, and they needed to upgrade from 1 gig to 10 gig and beyond. And it was very expensive. And they had to wait a long time to get the new hardware and the new software loaded on. The solution is to find a disaggregated packet broker. The switches are available on the market. The solution, the software is there. It takes very low time, very small time, very short time to acquire the hardware, load the software. And as E.C.I, we are a manufacturer of taps as well. So we were able to provide the taps for monitoring on the links without affecting the production network, loading our disaggregated packet broker, or what we call a packet maestro, which is an out-of-band solution, does not affect production traffic, and it happened very quickly, while we saved about 66% of the original price from the NetScout type of solution. And that was key in adopting our solution for this customer. So we run the packet broker as a container on top of the white box or the white switch. So it could be a 10 gig today. Tomorrow, the customer will use the same software with the same license on top of another switch that 25 gig or 100 gig or 400 gig. So a protection on investment when it comes to licensing, when it comes to hardware as well. This is another customer that I mentioned, like a good introduction to open networking could be around a management network. Customers, they have production network, but all the devices in the production network, they need to be managed. So they create what we call the management VLAN or the management network. And it could start with that. And we had a customer who had the Juniper EX4300 platform as being used as switches for the management network. And it went end of sale. So the customer had to replace a large number of switches for the management network. And the solution was the disaggregated networking or the open networking. We replaced the Juniper solutions with white boxes, and it reduced the actual budget for the management network by about 55% when we used open hardware and open source software, such as the Sonic one. So these are key type of solutions for customers that are looking to reduce their budget, to reduce their expenses, reduce CapEx and OpEx, and have a flexible solution with investment protection to carry them up to the future. And this is what we call the future of networking, is the open networking type of solutions that have been adopted by large enterprises, medium and small enterprises. It's available now. Wiring closet, branch offices, top of rack, spine and leaf, core switches and solutions. All the feature set is available today, very rich feature set, and saving on the budget as well. So at this point, I would like to maybe stop sharing the screen and look at the questions. I don't know if there are any questions. Oh, Fatima, if you have any questions, or I see one thing in the chat.
Yeah, just a reminder to everyone, please submit your questions through the Q&A or through the chat space for Fuad for us to view and be able to answer your questions. But as we're waiting for any responses for those questions, just wanted to, again, thank you so much for today's webinar. It was very educational, as well as appreciated the overview of services and solutions that E.C.I provides. It's quite extensive and very involved. So thank you for that overview with us today for that series. If our attendees have questions or would like more information, what's the best way to contact you? Will it be to you directly, or is there a team that they should contact that we can include in the thank you message to them to make sure that they're reaching out to the right contact?
Absolutely. If you have my email, if they have my email, they can send you directly to myself. I'll be more than happy to answer all kinds of questions directly related to the open networking subject or any other networking type of questions. I've been in the networking industry for quite a long time. I've worked with different manufacturers and resellers in the pre-sales and the post-sales as well. So our hands are always in the equipment, in the configuration. We do POCs, proof of concepts, If anyone is interested in doing some kind of a proof of concept of having access to a virtual lab to try open networking type of solutions, how to configure it, what's involved in automation and orchestration, we'll be more than happy to assist and help at that level.
Okay, great. Fuad, we do have a question in the Q&A space. Are you able to see that?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, are there any durable bare metal switches that work better in an outdoor fiber cabinet for an active Ethernet fiber distribution? You're looking for a rugged type of switches and solutions. I think there are. The open networking industry is not limited to only wiring closet and data center. So I'll come back to you with some recommendation, what type of switch you can use and what type of software. So I'm assuming that this is for kind of service provider or maybe a large company. So absolutely. So this is for Robert. I'll be able to reply back to you. I do have your email, and I'll get you some information on that. And the answer is yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we'll just give it a few more moments. I know sometimes it takes a minute to get those questions entered into the chat space. So we will, again, just a reminder to our attendees, we will send a thank you email. It will include Fuad's contact information for you to contact him directly with any additional questions that you may have, or to set up a personal call to definitely learn more information. All right, I'm just scanning one additional time. Before we conclude, I'll just ask Fatima, if you see any additional questions that you have on your end, just to make sure that we're addressing everyone's questions.
No, the only question we received is from Robert Nickerson, and no other questions.
Okay, great. Well, again, Fuad, just want to thank you, Fatima, and the E.C.I team for definitely conducting and hosting our webinar for today. Very appreciative for the time, and thank you to our attendees who registered and attended today's session. Just as a reminder, we will send a thank you email with a link to this recording and the contact information for Fuad and E.C.I Networks team. So I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and we will be in touch very soon until the next webinar. So everyone,
thank you very much for your hosting. Thank you very much for everyone that joined our meeting today, and hoping to see some questions or emails and maybe talking to you in the near future.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Thank you guys. Have a great day. We'll see you soon.